Hookup culture is prevalent everywhere you look in society nowadays. It's common to see many examples across all social media platforms. You see lots of it in TV series as well as even movies, and it's become widely accepted by men and women across all ages. And in some cases, it's even celebrated, and some folks have even achieved celebrity status because of their promiscuity. However, the underlying truth about it all is that hookup culture is causing way more damage than it is good for society. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about 4 specific myths about hookup culture and how it specifically is damaging men's ability to find high quality women in their lives. So the first myth that I want to talk about is one that's already commonly known, and that is you are the man, you're him if you can sleep with many women. And this is something that I think a lot of us guys learn from an early age. I remember growing up in high school and hearing about the older kids talking about how they're able to score with some of the girls in their grade. Even when I got into adulthood and started hanging out with guys at the clubs and at the bars and hearing stories about how some of them were able to hook up with so-and-so, or even some of them had a roster of girls where they were able to sleep with one different one for every single day of the week. It was nuts. And I think for a lot of us young men at the time, at that stage in our life, we admire those guys because sex is one of those things that we all want to experience. And deep down, I think we all know that sex represents the most valuable part of ourselves that we can share with a woman, which is our own sexuality and our own ability to deeply connect with them. However, the one big flaw with this myth is simply that, sleeping with many women means that you're focused more on quantity versus quality of women. And let's face it, like for a lot of these guys that sleep with a lot of women, yeah, some of them will claim that some of these chicks are hot, and they might be physically attractive, but none of them actually end up in long-term relationships or even marriage. Maybe very, very, very few, a very small percentage. The majority of them are just simply just a hookup, and that's it. And in a lot of these cases, these women who are willing to give up sex so easily, they're typically very insecure and they don't respect themselves. So it doesn't make any sense to call yourself a man when you're taking advantage of women who don't respect themselves, who are very insecure and are looking to give sex to a man for their own validation, to feel good about themselves. It just creates this vicious cycle, and it doesn't, to be honest, make you a high value man at all. What makes you a high value man is your ability to attract high quality women who have values, who have integrity, but most importantly, who respect themselves and who also understand that sex is one of the most valuable pieces that they shouldn't just be giving to anybody. So that myth that sleeping with many women makes you a man is absolutely false. And that leads me to the second myth about hookup culture, and that is there's nothing wrong with it. There's so many men and women that claim that as long as it's consensual, there's nothing wrong with just having casual sex with many partners at any given point in time. However, the underlying truth is someone always ends up catching feels or to some degree feeling hurt or feeling used. And that's simply because of the nature of sex and the vulnerable position it puts people in. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more when I get to myth number 4. However, to this point about it, being okay and that there's nothing wrong with it at all, well, what you'll find with people who participate in hookup culture, a lot of them are using sex as a way to cope with some sort of emotional pain or trauma that they've either recently experienced from a past relationship or even worse, are currently experiencing in an existing relationship, either with a boyfriend or even a husband. I'm so disappointed to hear that there's so many stories of guys talking about how they hooked up with a woman and found out after the fact that they're with a boyfriend or that they have a husband and they also have kids with a family. But I'm even more disgusted to hear that there's some men, when they find out about this, that they don't feel at all responsible for what's going to happen now to that family because it's all the woman's fault. The woman is the gatekeeper for sex. She came to him and he was just doing what he was allowed to do. he wasn't trying to encroach on the relationship or on the marriage. And it just so happened that this woman wanted a quick hookup because of some of the bullshit that she was dealing in that relationship. And so this guy just gets the benefit and doesn't see any fault in participating in that. Well, that's one of the most disgusting parts about hookup culture, is that it's creating unaccountability towards men, where they're just simply pointing the blame at some of these women, making them the gatekeepers of sex, when both parties are absolutely responsible for the damage that it's doing to each other's lives, and most importantly, the lives of the people that they're in relationships with. So whether the man is cheating on their girlfriend or their wife, or vice versa, the woman is cheating on their boyfriend or their husband, there's ripple effects that will affect the people that they love and care about, their families, and especially if they have kids. It just creates this vicious generational curse that's going to keep happening unless that's resolved. And I would never want to be participating in an activity that could cause that much damage to a family or even a loving relationship. So regardless of what's happening in their lives, if it's not working out, the first thing that those people need to do is just get out of a relationship. I don't get why people need to cheat and to sneak around each other's back. If it's not working, try, but if it just won't work, it won't work. And then move on. And then if you want to participate in hookup culture, you can. But to simply say there's nothing wrong with it and it's not causing any harm to anybody at all as long as it's consensual is absolute bullshit. So the third myth is one that is talked about widely with red pillars and a lot of these alpha males. And it's the claim that in order to find who you are and what you like in a woman and in sex in a relationship, you need to sleep with as many women as possible. I remember hearing some sort of statistic from, that Fresh and Fit podcast, that you need to sleep with at least 50 women so that you understand female nature and that you can understand sexuality a little bit more and what you like in sex. That's absolute trash. And let me tell you, you don't get experience about relationships when you're participating in hookup culture and having casual sex and one night stands. All you're doing is exactly that. You're just participating in having casual encounters. You're not developing any skills around how to manage and take care of a long-term relationship with the opposite sex. You're not learning how to build any emotional bonds with the person that you're with. You're not even learning how to work through life's challenges as a team with someone when you're having casual sex. When you're participating in hookup culture, you're not learning about anything about a relationship other than how to manipulate or influence someone to sleep with you on and share the most valuable part of themselves with you, and making them think that it's no big deal at all. That's one of the most damaging things that's affecting dating and relationships, our ability to build relationships with people, is the fact that you're not actually developing any skills, any social skills or any relationship skills by participating in hookup. And that myth about, you need to get with many women in order to have the best sex possible. And then also that other myth where, women don't want to be with an unexperienced guy. That's absolute horse trash. The best way that you can have the best sex is by having deep emotional connection, but most importantly, having the ability to have open communication, to talk to your partner and talk about what is it that you actually want in that kind of experience, and what you like and what you don't like, and that openness and willingness to talk about that in a loving and caring way, so that way you can continue to improve your sexual experiences, your romantic experiences together. And that leads me to the fourth and final myth. I think, if anything, this is the most important one to debunk. And that is when people say, at the end of the day, when you participate in hookup culture, it's just sex. Let's be honest, guys, it's not just sex, because if it was just sex, we wouldn't have all these emotionally damaged people complaining online and to all their friends and family, saying that they felt used and abused and that they wish that they never participated in it. What hookup culture is doing, the biggest damage it's doing, is it's not allowing you to build the necessary skills but also the physical ability to create a strong emotional bond with a partner. And I've heard this many times from people who have participated in hookup culture, that when they first started, it felt awkward. They felt a little bit ashamed, but their ego took over and they're like, no, I got to do this. I need to hook up with more women. And it's okay for it to feel a little bit awkward at first, but eventually it's going to start to feel better and better the more that I do it. And essentially what they were trying to numb themselves from was the actual pain of participating in hookup, because the bond was already starting to be created with some of these early partners. And over time, they've conditioned their brain and their bodies to no longer turn that switch on to create that bond. And so what ends up happening for a lot of these guys, and especially and also women, is that over time, the more you participate in hookup, you lessen your ability to create that emotional, deep connection, that bond with somebody else. And that eventually leads to trust issues down the road when you now think that you're ready to start a long-term relationship with someone. Think about it. For years, you've conditioned yourself to only hook up with people who are also willing to freely give themselves away to you and to other people, the most valuable part of themselves to other people. And now all of a sudden you're like, well, I'm done. I've had my fun. Now I'm ready to settle down and start a long-term relationship with someone. Well, guess what? You can't just turn this switch on and be able to now emotionally and deeply connect with a woman very easily. And that's why a lot of men and even women are finding it very hard later on to find a life partner, to find someone that they want to marry, to have kids and a family with, because they have trust issues, because they've damaged themselves so much that they don't have that ability right at the start to be able to build that bond that's needed in order to build that type of relationship at that stage in their life. And that's one of the saddest parts, is that a lot of people are only finding this out after the fact and looking back in hindsight and having this deep shame and regret, telling themselves, I wish I never participated in that. And they see other examples of people who did it the right way, where they took their time getting to know people. They took their time to, start to build romance and intimacy before actually having physical relationships with them. And there's this deep shame and regret that now they have to overcome and deal with. Now, it's not impossible to reverse this, but it does take time to reverse the negative effects that hookup has had in your life. And one of the biggest things that you can do, if this is you and you're feeling that you've been hurt and damaged by this culture, you're not the only one. There's a lot of men that are starting over, but it's not impossible. And the biggest foundation that you can build this off of is semen retention and nofap. My previous video talked about some of the positive effects that it's had on my life and how it actually changed my life after my divorce. So I'm going to share a link to that video towards the end of this one if you want to check that out. But that should be the foundation, is learning how to deprogram your brain, how to desexualize your brain, and learning how to now manage your sexual energy and manage your lustfulness towards women. Once you are able to manage that, then the other two areas that you need to work on is your overall health. So physical, mental, and emotional health. So start working out, eating healthy, getting some sleep, taking up some hobbies, and then also building a social life with men, but also women as friends. Start learning how to build social skills through friendship groups, people that you can do activities with, people that you can do hobbies with, and without the intention of thinking about, oh, this could be a potential partner or maybe someone that I could hook up with down the road. It's amazing having female friends. And yes, it's possible for guys to have female friends. All of this talk about saying like males and females can't be friends, that's bullshit. That's a lack of emotional maturity and life experience, to be quite honest. But when you have a circle of friends of men and women that you can connect with and be bonded with and have that as your tribe, your life will be way more complete, and you'll also be more healthy and in a better position to now start pursuing a long-term relationship. And the whole reason why is because at that point, once your life is complete, Your life is full. You don't need a woman to complete you. Now you're ready to find a high quality woman and even attract a high quality woman who can complement your life. And that's the biggest difference. Most people who get stuck in hookup culture, it's because they think that that's going to be something that's going to complete their life. And at the end of the day, I hope you can see that it doesn't do that at all. If anything, it causes more damage than good. So I hope this video found you at the right time. I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments below about how hookup culture has affected maybe possibly your life or how you were able to turn that around. Thank you again for watching my video and for all your support, guys, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Peace out.